What's up friends, djdurosai here. Hope you guys are staying creative. So I've been getting a lot of requests to do a video on making melodic elements, which is understandable because I feel like that's the hardest part of a track to get right, is that mid-range. You know, my musical background is in percussion, so the drums and the bass are always the easiest parts for me. And yeah, the mid-range and melodic elements is always a challenge. And that's honestly where I spend most of my time when writing a song. So in this video, I'll be showing you my process for making pads. I'll be walking you through how I start the process of making pads and then how I process them and write the automation. But before I get into it, you know the deal. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Sharing actually helps me out a lot, gets it out there to a lot of people. It helps support the channel. And of course, you know, follow me on Instagram, check out my music, and yada yada yada. All right, let's get into it. All right, so let's take a listen to the track. This channel right here is where the pad is at, the Prophet V2. And I actually bounced this to audio just to save some CPU processing power while I'm screen recording. But you can see what I did here. So I'll just play it from here to here so you get an idea of what the pad sounds like. And by the way, when this track releases, I'll put a link in the description.
Take all of one's pain, pull it into a single frame, and invite us to relive it with all of the joy of experience and none of the suffering. Like a wind turbine converts the wind's kinetic energy into electrical power, the songwriter has an ability to convert the emotional experience, the human experience, however transitory, and convert it into redeeming beauty long after the pain is past. I call it translation.
Okay, so that's the pad. Let's just start from the beginning. So I have the Prophet V2 using this ring pad preset. This is honestly just like my favorite preset, or a favorite pad preset in the Prophet. I don't know, I've used this on a couple tracks now. It's I don't know, it's just pretty fire. So let me start with the MIDI notes. So what I'm doing here is I have a dissonant chord. This I have like a D and a D sharp next to each other. The track is in G minor, so it's a G minor chord with this dissonant D sharp, and that's what's adding the eeriness to the pad sound. So when I was actually working on this track, originally I didn't have this dissonant note, and then you see I'm doing this here as well. This is I think this is a C minor chord. Actually, I don't even know. I don't know what the chord this is. I'm not I'm not big on music theory. I don't know too much, but I just do what sounds right. But again, here I'm doing this dissonance as well, and yeah, that's just adding the eerie texture. I didn't have that before, and adding that added a whole new dimension to the pad sound. So actually, I mean, I can remove it and I'll show you what it sounds like. Alright, so that's width. And then let's take out this D sharp. Like, it still sounds dark and stuff, but I don't think it just kind of sounds regular, you know, like just like minor chords are very common. So I think it just sounds very plain, but adding that little dissonance, it just, I don't know, brings the mood in. It's very moody. And I'll show you, you know, same thing on here. If I take out this G sharp, like, it's all right. And you know, it's not even in key technically. Like, I mean, the track is in G minor, but when I was messing around with the chord structure, this is just what sounded the best. So it's kind of like an altered G minor chord. I don't know what the exact name would be, but like, you know, if it sounds good, it sounds good, you know. Like, scales are just, they're guidelines, right? They're not really something you have to follow, because I mean, if it sounds good and it's not in key, who cares, right? So okay, so let's get into the automation. So as you can see here, there's a couple things being automated. Let's start with the filter cutoff. So this is the cutoff filter on the Prophet itself. I'm doing quite a bit of modulation here, just slowly bringing up the filter as it gets to the break. And I have, with this particular preset and the way the delay is, and it's also a high resonance filter, you get some very interesting sounding effects when you rapidly change the cutoff filter. So for example, right here,
Invite us to relive it with all of the joy of experience and none of the suffering.
sounds very spacey. Same thing here. And then same thing here. I'm increasing the cutoff filter as it gets to
however transitory, and convert it into redeeming beauty long after the pain is past. I call it translation.
And then other than that, there's just little tiny automation details like this. I'm just sloping up the thing, and it's all, you know, just play it by ear. I like to just kind of draw random things in and just see how it sounds, and then tweak it slowly afterwards. Alright, so let's see what else is being automated. Nothing there. Yeah, a little bit of gain automation. I actually have 2 layers of gain automation. I don't know why, I just do. There's one that's before the sidechain compressors and the drum bus and saturator. And then there's another utility all the way at the end that's just controlling the entire track volume. And so what the gain automation is doing is mainly just kind of balancing, keeping the volume somewhat constant as the filter changes a lot. Because, you know, when the filter cutoff is very low, you're only going to get those low frequencies, and it's not going to be very audible. So in that case, I bring up the gain on this utility, and then when the filter starts really opening up and all those frequencies are heard, then it's really present. So I need to bring it down, because, you know, you perceive that as insanely loud. So that's the thought behind that. Alright, so let me just go over a little bit of how I mixed this, because I did find it a little bit challenging to mix this, and it took a while to get it right. So here, starting with this EQ8, I'm already, you know, taking out a lot of the lows, some of the low mids, the high mids as well, honestly. I'm gonna take off this EQ, we can hear it. Just sounded a little muddy, but that's just going through some drum bus to fatten that up. And then through sidechain, you know, sidechaining this to the kick, sidechaining this to the vocal, because in the break, the vocal takes up kind of the same range, so every time that comes in, I want this pad to be sidechained. Then going through saturator, driving it by 16 dB, and then lowering the output by that same amount, just to get some of that fatness and harmonic content. And then with this EQ, I'm taking out this resonance right here, because that was really poking out. Then we have this multi-band compressor. That's just taking care of some of these low mids as well. It's the main thing here I was having a problem with in general with this pad was the low mids. So that's why I was doing that a couple EQ cuts. So that EQ cut in the beginning, the one here, and then finally this multi-band doing some compression on that region. And then here it's doing compression on the 2K region. Again, or this is like 2.6K. still, you know, that's that harshness that you're gonna hear. So multi-band compression is really good for dynamic sounds like this pad, you know, especially with that filter cutoff modulating a lot. This pad is very dynamic. EQ tends to be better on more static sounds. So, you know, I'm using a combination of both here because I need the EQ just to bring down the level permanently, and then the compressor needs to do it in a dynamic way that kind of responds to the filter cutoff modulation. So, you know, when the cutoff from the filter is opened up, you know, this starts really compressing that those harsh 2K frequencies. So yeah, and then this, go into a glue compressor, just doing a little bit of compression there, and then this good old reverb, Valhalla vintage verb. So yeah, that's the pad. You know, it's just one pad playing a couple, you know, different chords. Like I said, when it comes to chords, I don't know, I just try stuff out. I usually go minor and then try some dissonant notes. And, you know, in general, I would just explore chords and not care too much about the music theory, especially I find with row minimal and minimal house and stuff like that. Sometimes having these weird chords can sound really cool, and it doesn't sound like the same old shit that everyone else is doing, just with minor chords. So, yep, that's just my thoughts and little insight into how I do pads. So, if you enjoyed this, give a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, or night, or end year, lifetime. Alright, peace out.